I am the owner of Howdy Sales. We are a pipeline generation agency. I've been in tech, high growth, kind of go to market teams for 10 plus years at this point, and been in kind of the small business ownership space in the last few years. So married my knowledge of, sales, revenue operations, sales enablement, lead generation, all of that kind of technical know-how that I learned in high growth tech companies. And now I'm applying it in an agency model through Howdy Sales. The world is different than it was even a few years ago. Post COVID, with AI, the vast amount of information is just exponentially larger than it was even 5 years ago. With that, I've seen outbound change a lot. Obviously, we also have like the cold email crackdowns and all of that stuff that happens on the technical infrastructure side.
Mhm.
So, I taking what I know about outbound and taking what I know about the world as it is today, we're really trying to just get a little bit more intelligent about how we start our pipeline generation efforts. And what we're doing is trying to build a story around a person and a company or an account through different signals. So I know signals are like really hot right now, but we're using AI to go find these like very specific niche things that people care about when it comes to their ideal customer profile. But then we're marrying that information with the network component, because I still hear time and time again, my best, highest converting pipeline is referrals, partners, connections, friends, so on and so forth. So we're kind of taking, the contextual way of getting information about people and companies, and then also trying to blend that with how can we get our foot in the door with a warm introduction as opposed to having to go cold. So
Well,
that's a long intro, but
yeah,
there you
that's
go.
great. Well, yeah, that's perfect. No, I appreciate all the context, and let's talk about the past before we dive into like the new world and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
how were you doing it like 5 years ago? And so, like, um, um, it, like, how do you think that what has changed in a way that's
Mhm.
making it like unsustainable now? Just dwell on the past and the problem a little more. Tell me what you've seen change in your own experience, in your own like
Yeah.
career.
The old playbook was to pull down a list of target accounts or target personas and make sure that they fit all of the checkboxes for the ideal customer profile, throw them into a sequence in outreach, usually like, 21-day sequence with a ton of multi-channel touch points. You hit them here, then you find them on LinkedIn, then you give them a cold call. And you would still get conversions out of that, right? People would respond. It's cold, but I think that was seeing pretty good success, especially over COVID when everyone switched to working remotely and selling remotely. And the only way we got anything done was via our emails. So I think that used to work really well. I also come from cybersecurity primarily in terms of my background. So outbound in cybersecurity is inherently difficult simply because the buyer, a cybersecurity platform buyer is inherently skeptical. They are trained to sniff out the bad stuff, right? Because that's what cybersecurity is. Yeah. So going in cold to say, "Hey, do you want a demo?" You already have a barrier to entry with those types of personas. So that's kind of the world I come from. It's like, one, outbound is hard. Two, it's even harder for these types of buyers. And then even just the kind of typical outreach playbook, or the, like, I don't want to say total spray and pray, but that high volume approach would still work even knowing the type of people we were reaching out to. But it doesn't anymore. The long and short of it.
Yeah, that makes ton of sense. What does it look like when you're going to work with a new client? I'm guessing it's quite custom, right, based on the client.
Typically, people come to us because they have tried email 30,000 people a month, see how many meetings I get. And, it turns out to be maybe a couple of tire kickers. And so people are coming to us saying, we need a different way. We need more information. We need to be smarter about who we're reaching out to. We want to be more focused as opposed to this like kind of broad cast a wide net approach. So that's the way in. And we do accommodate those people, of course, from that value proposition. We've got what we do is called signal stacking, where we're taking intent contacts, specifically like person level intent contacts through Vector, which is our kind of data provider. And they are telling us who's on our clients' websites, who's offsite searching. That's like the first signal that we take in to say, okay, this person may be in market, but then let's also identify the other things that you really care about when it comes to your ideal customer. And we're thinking way beyond like firmographics, filters. Like we're really trying to get into the contextual pieces that are maybe not quite as like a checklist or
Mm-hmm.
not as binary, I suppose. For some of our clients, as an example, like we're going out and figuring out if a current company is under FCPA monitorship for an ethics violation because that matters to one client. For another, we're actually checking if there's a spike in backlinks for a prospect's competitor. And if so, then we're going in with kind of like a deficit message to say, hey, your Bank of America, Chase Bank is eating your lunch when it comes to their SEO backlinks. Do you want to get on board with us? So like really, really hyper specific things that matter to our clients. But then here's the really fun part is people are like very receptive to that concept, that signal stacking and the scoring and kind of prioritizing leads from there. But then when I say, okay, now here's the next question, where do you get most of your pipeline today? Everyone says referrals, partnerships, people that I know. Then I say, okay, and how many cold emails do you personally respond to? And they say 0. So the point is, we're going to get you really good leads, but your best chance of turning them into opportunities is to find a warm introduction. We're still going to send messages, right? Like LinkedIn is, I think, the best right now. We're still going to do that if we don't have a way into the person or the company or like whatever. But we need to start where you just told me your best pipeline comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we're like overlaying everything.
Yeah, if there's an intro available, use it. Basically, like
Yes.
don't go cold right away. Even if you have done your homework of like this person is
Right.
in market, and there is this really specific signal which I love, like the examples you gave.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look for an intro, and
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's where the swarm comes in, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
um, can you speak to just like the conversion rates, like comparisons? I mean, you talked about
Yeah. Let me
two
pull up.
two opportunities out of 30,000 emails. Like, so I don't know what the percentage is, but like, yeah, that's low. Do you have any just benchmarks, I guess, for?
Yeah. So we are seeing, and in terms of like rates that I care about, I don't care about opens. I don't care about anything like that. I think that that's old news, but let me just pull this up really quickly. In general, what we're seeing is and again, we're doing primarily LinkedIn outreach. We're not really touching cold email just because I think LinkedIn is a much more personal approach, although it is getting noisy for the people that are in market. We've identified the right contacts, and we still need to go colder. We are using LinkedIn. We
Mhm.
are, of course, basing our first. We need to get a connection. We're not doing any in mail, and right now we're getting in aggregate. This is for the year so far. We have a 16% reply rate on
That's right.
messages, which is really, really good. And then, in terms of actually converting, I don't have that number right here, but I would say for one client, we've gotten 5 meetings in the last 4 months. For another, we've gotten like 3 meetings in the last 2 months. And again, these are hyper focused campaigns. So we really are going for quality, not quantity, because even as an agency owner, if I get you 20 meetings, if I find 20 people that'll talk to you, but none of them are serious or none of them are in market, then I still don't think I've done my job
Mhm.
well. So it's far less about like the quantity and more about that quality. So I don't have the actual like conversion numbers per client, but
Yeah,
the reply rate alone is far better than anything I've ever seen in cold email.
we and we've seen like some interesting data like downstream to the in the meeting to opportunity conversion rates.
Hmm.
Like it's not just like you're gonna get like better meetings, which is like essential to save everybody's time and in particular, like, your clients, like, but also like those meetings just tend to, I mean, not tend, they like, they have 3 or 4 times more chances to turn into an opportunity that turns into like a large deal. So, and in our experience, we're suggesting to point, like, go to network more for enterprise type deals, that where the ACV, the annual contract value, is gonna be like higher, because like that's where you start. Is that something you're doing? So like tiering accounts and focusing on the top, like, the bigger fishes, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, we're actually just dipping our toe in that flow specifically. So typically we say, okay, look, we're gathering people, like actual individual intent, and we are starting on the intent person level. Then if we want to, in a kind of complementary stream, do account-based approach, like we can. Or if we see that one person from a really high target account came in on an intent playbook and, maybe we have a connection, maybe we don't, but we want to see all of the people that we could potentially talk to within that account. Like we can kind of go top down and bottom up, but what we are doing actually with a brand new client is they have one large account that they're in already, but they want to mine the heck out of that account. So we are actually starting on the go to network side. We are going to start only with that one account to try and map through their entire network to see who knows who and who we can kind of triangulate a way in with. So, find me in like 3 weeks. I might have some real tangible
Yeah.
learnings from that. But yeah, to your point, like I think that's kind of in my opinion, that's the new way to prospect. Like you have to find a way to get smarter about the outbound stuff, like your list pulling and, all of that, like that process just needs to be far more fine-tuned. And I think people just have to think differently about the networking component. Everyone says, well, you know, our pipeline comes from our network, but that's not scalable. And I hear that constantly. And it's like, okay, no, you can't scale relationships in the same way I can send out 30,000 emails. Like, of course not. But it is scalable to a degree that you aren't doing right now. So let's like reorient ourselves around how to like get smart about the networking part of it and like, yeah, attack it from both sides. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'm speaking your language.
Yeah, and there's this like underlying, sedimented like knowledge that relationships don't scale. I mean,
Yeah.
the relationship itself doesn't scale, but the motion can scale. And what we've seen, just like anecdotally, like you maybe get 10% of your pipeline, in terms of volume, not like quality, right? But in terms of volume, 10% comes from referral. If you implement a go-to-network motion, you get to like maybe 30%.
Hmm.
And those deals are going to convert better. They're going to be happiest customer. They're better fit. They'll stay longer. So let's scale that.
Right. I was talking to um, this new client yesterday, actually. We kind of did like a mini kickoff call with them. And, I was explaining like it's also with the network thing and scalability. I think we're all so wired to think in terms of volume, but especially on the network side, it's far more about density. And so it's about how dense a network an individual has that you can tap into for your target market. Meaning, I don't necessarily encourage people to go find partners, colleagues with a ton of connections because that isn't always the right way. Like you want to know how dense a network they have with your ICP. So how many people in their network are people that you want to talk to? And that's what starts scaling. At least for me personally, that's what's worked. So I have one friend here in Denver. He's made 4 introductions in the last year. So call it one a quarter. And 2 of those have closed and turned into opportunities. And he doesn't know everyone, but the people that he's made introductions to have been so perfect fits for what we want that it's like the density of his network is exactly what I care about, not the breadth. So I think just on the point of like scaling relationships, you also don't need a ton of relationships per se to network effectively if your say 5 to 10 top connectors are really well integrated with their network and are willing to put them like, put a line out for you
Right.
and kind of spend that social capital. It's like, well, I mean, I'm a new agency. 2 clients is huge for me. So like he alone has helped grow our organization so much. So anyhow, I think that's a way of like kind of reframing that
Yeah.
whole concept of scale when it comes to the network.
Yeah, yeah. Just unlearning some things there and reframing. I love it. How do you go about like helping your clients find the top connectors?
Yeah, and like think through it. That's always a little bit of a challenge, not because our clients are dumb by any means, but it's just wrapping around a framework, right? To think, okay, who do I need to bring in? So we kind of have like a table and then like a quadrant built out to say, okay, where do people fit in this like ranking of sorts? So if you've got like happy customers and really good partners, those would be like top right quadrant according to our little like kind of scale model. And we want to focus on those kind of first and foremost. Those really high connector or sorry, high strength connectors, I guess is what I'll say, where they've got really strong relationships with the people that you want to sell to. From there, we kind of educate people. Like there's this kind of like fuzzy middle, like maybe you worked with somebody 10 years ago, but you haven't really talked to them for a while, but like you're not enemies. You could still reach out, but like there's just a little bit of a disconnect or maybe a looser affinity with that person. And then maybe you've got somebody you met at a conference 2 years ago and like you had a coffee and you haven't talked since. Like those are probably weaker connections. I would still say might as well try if they're willing to broker an introduction. You never know. But you adjust expectations for those types of connectors as opposed to that really high strength connector. So we kind of plot it out with our clients to say, okay, this is how to think through it. And it's not that you only want those high top quadrant ones. Like let's get a little bit of a mix across like the top and the middle to have the best chance of getting
Nice.
those introductions. Does that kind of answer your
Yeah, yeah,
question?
that's amazing. Yeah, I want to see that quadrant.
Yes, I will. I'll share it with you.
That's awesome. I love it. You're building like process around it,
Yeah,
around like emotion, and you're on top of it. So that's
I try to
awesome.
be.
We have like 5 minutes left, and I want to ask you, I guess, maybe a question about like sort of like crystal ball. I guess where do you see the next 5 years? Of course, AI is changing every single week, every
I
single
know.
day. There is like the new agent, the new like
Can't
model,
keep up.
and so on. Who knows where we're going to be in 5 years? But like, yeah, if you had to guess like the state of, go to market, I guess,
Yeah.
is full outbound going to completely disappear? Is this all going to be relationship based? Is it going to be agent to agent like conversation? What do you think? If you had to guess, or even like in the next 12 months, if that's easier to answer, whatever.
The future, the nebulous future. So I think that yes, bots will start selling to bots eventually. I think that's how it's going to go, where you've got your AI powered go to market motion. And then the receiving end has an AI powered email filter that is trained to only respond to topics and messages that are of interest. So I think that we are going to start seeing less like robot to human and more robot to robot activity. We're starting to get there already. Like you've got the AI SDRs, you've got, I mean, all the chatbots and the like automation. I think that that's just going to continue to expand. Where on like the receiving end as opposed to the sending end, we're going to get smarter in terms of how we're managing everything that's coming at us and coming at us with an even faster rate because of this automation. So I do think we are going to see that. And I think I actually talked about this on LinkedIn today, but like Newton's third law of motion says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I think with the rise of all of that AI, I think people are going to equally want, desire, and seek out more human connection because everything is so robotic between all this other business stuff that we're doing. Like, it's going to grow, like all of the AI stuff, like you said. I mean, it's already here, it's taking over. The agents are going to run the world, whatever. But I also think that people will respond to that technology with I just want to talk to a human. Like just give me a human to talk to. Or I just want to go network. I want to go to a conference and like get in front of people and have that relationship again. That's I don't know. That's my hypothesis. I could be totally wrong. But
Nah, I agree personally, and I think like we're gonna get better at like identifying conversations that are non-humans right now. Right now, technology is like AI is pointed a lot at like faking being
Hmm.
to a human. Even like on the phone, like there are some
Right.
companies now that are launching those solutions where you can like have a call center that's just AI and it's like pretending to be a human who's like the and even like the stuff
It's
which I
so
guess
like it's so cringy
that's
to
really
me.
creepy. And I hope we get past that.
I
And
know.
if I know I'm talking to an AI, it's actually delivering my answer faster and better. I'm actually fine with that. I just don't want to be like, as a customer, as a buyer, I don't want to be like, and I think it's the same for B2B. If you receive tons of emails that are pretending to be like AI, like, so just like identifying like the relationship and then like, yeah, maybe there's an agent that reply in your behalf and what's going to come through is like actually Christy's trying to get in touch with you for an
Hmm.
introduction, the real
Hmm.
Christy,
Right. Right.
like made like Christy account on
Right.
your Gmail, on your WhatsApp, on your LinkedIn. So I hope that's where I think it's
Yeah.
just naturally gonna evolve that way because there is only like so much bandwidth that we can. So love your answer. Anything you want to add in the last minute that we haven't touched on, or anything you want to talk about, like in in regards to the motion or
I love your API. So
hot
thanks for the
take.
API. Thanks for the API.
What are you hoping to do with the API?
Um, so right now, uh, this is like our primary use of it, but we have all of our intent contacts automatically hooking into Clay. We do our signal stacking. We find the information we care about, do our scoring methodology, and then we have the API pulling in there to see if for every person we have a connection or don't have a connection. If so, how strong it is it? And then we add additional scoring if there is a connector, so that that floats to the top of the prioritized lead list, and that has, I mean, that the scale, I will say, of like being able to see where we have the connections in that format is like amazing. It's absolutely incredible. And then we also tell our clients, like, you can go into the swarm and like build your lists and do other things aside from this one workflow if you want to go bigger and broader with your network. But that API was, truthfully, the API was the reason I like came over to the swarm. So good, solid work.
Thank you so much.